Namaste and greetings. Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, the founding minister and the spiritual director. If you have questions about what is a teaching center, who is Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is metaphysical spirituality? Feel free to send an email to spirituallyintegratederts@gmail.com. The website with tons of information will be available soon. In the meantime, feel free to follow us, to join us, to subscribe via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. For more information, as I said, send an email. Look for us. Join us. I look forward to chatting with you more very soon. Much love, appreciation, and all of that. Blessings. Hello and welcome. So today, April 23rd, there will not be an after message gathering. However, next Sunday, April 30th, there will be. If you do not already have the Zoom link, then send an email to Spiritually Integrated Arts, and Tracy or I will send you the Zoom link so you can join in and have lively conversation, meet some new folks, come together as community. And if you have any questions about anything else, then feel free to also reach out. Breathe. Ready to start? Ready to jump in? Ready to get involved with the power of vulnerability? This week, we are talking about seeing and being seen, and we are going to explore how vulnerability is a building block for what it means to have a thriving and healthy community. We are going to see, breathe, all of the things that it takes to demonstrate and manifest, to create the beloved community. See, it's not just about community. It's not just about getting together for a potluck, getting together for a Sunday service, getting together for, it's not just about that. It's about coming together where we help one another. See, you don't heal in isolation, you heal in community. It's about coming together, vulnerable, open, expansive, so that we are nurturing and supporting one another in community. Because as we do it for ourselves, then it shows up. As we do it in community, then it shows up. As I do it for myself, it shows up in my family, it shows up in my community, it shows up in my neighborhood, it shows up in the city, it shows up in the state, it shows up in the world. And that's the work that we are invited to get into. How do we come together in these dynamic and loving and challenging relationships? Breathe. Because being in community, being in this kind of relationship requires a connection, an authenticity, a transparency, what it means to truly belong, what it means to truly affirm one another in a life affirming, life supporting, life nurturing manner, what it means to create the space for one another to be able to be vulnerable safely. Breathe. Because we can't live out loud truly until we give ourselves the ease and the grace and the space to be vulnerable, to be open, to be vulnerable, to be loving, to be vulnerable, to be nurturing. Only then can we truly live out loud. Breathe. So once again, the theme is seeing and being seen. And I want to just point out and make sure that we are not engaging in ableism, because we are not talking about sight. Right? Sight is a faculty, seeing is an art. We are talking about, when we say seeing and being seen, we are talking about this art. We are talking not about eyesight, but rather insight, foresight. We're talking about this deeper, innate, divine kind of sight. Insight, the capacity to gain an accurate and deep intuitive understanding of a person, a thing, a situation. Intuition, perception, awareness, discernment, imagination. All of these are the kinds of sight that we are referring to, the art of. Now, Dr. Holmes says, we see in each other the reflection or the manifestation of the everlasting life. We see God in one another, and each is an individualized embodiment of it. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is already in us. Pause. What does our declaration of principle say? We believe that heaven is within and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. Each is an individualized embodiment of it. Heaven is the state of consciousness that we are. Breathe. We are in it. It is only as we are in harmony with it, in recognition of it, that we are awakened to it, that we are experiencing it. Only as we are in harmony. Are we in harmony with it? Are we in harmony with the kingdom of heaven, with heaven on earth, with heaven within our own lives, within our own consciousness? Are we in harmony with it? Do we recognize, are we able to see that we are an individualized embodiment of this everlasting life, life itself, the thing itself, the divine? Do we see that? Do we recognize it? Are we aware of it? Are we living from that awareness? Breathe. Because if I am not doing it right here, in, through, and as me, then I'm not going to be able to do it in community, right? I'm not going to be able to communicate with another person at that deeper level. I can talk at you, but am I talking with you? Am I communicating with you? Because if I'm talking at you, that's not community building. Talking at people actually builds distance, creates space apart from, not together. So the invitation is, how do I come to this space of harmony so that it is so profound and so deep in, through, and as me that it can't help but to show up when I am with others, when I am with you? So profound is the awareness that it simply comes out as a natural byproduct. Breathe. Louise Hay reminds us, If I want to be accepted as I am, then I need to be willing to accept others as they are. If I want to be accepted as I am, then I need to be willing to accept others as they are. Remix. If I want to be accepted as I am, then I need to accept myself as I am, which then increases my ability to accept others as they are. I have to be it first. I have to be willing to be it first. I have to embody it first, put it into practice first. So if I want to be accepted, I have to accept myself, which then gives me greater capacity to accept others. And in doing so, gives others greater capacity to also accept themselves and others. Breathe. Because I know that there are places and spaces where we don't like to accept ourselves. We don't accept ourselves because of our weight. We don't accept ourselves because of some financial thing, because of relationships, because of past, because of trauma, because of something in the story that we tell. And yet, we are invited to accept ourselves beyond all of that stuff. See, we judge that stuff, which is what makes it more challenging to accept ourselves. Accept beyond those conditions in that story. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to still work on changing certain things, but it means that we accept, we love ourselves. To accept ourselves means we move into an energy of acceptance, which means we surrender to or release anything that is a non-life affirming judgment that is associated with ourselves, with someone, or something else. What they are versus what they do, right? So we can say that someone sells drugs. That's what they do. That's not what they are. Can I accept them as a person, as an individualized expression of God, separate from what they do? I don't need to accept what they do. I encourage them to stop what they are doing and live in alignment with who and what they are. I don't need to judge what they are based upon what they do. Breathe. Because oftentimes that's exactly what we do. We judge ourselves based upon actions, history, and the story versus accepting ourselves and loving ourselves for who and what we are. Now, pause, because I want to go into a slight sidebar because of something that I still hear many people say on a regular. Hate the sin, love the sinner. Many people, even within New Thought, they may not say it exactly this way, but many still say it. Now, a more evolved Christian, I've seen them, I've heard them, I've had conversations with them, and they say things like this: simply love the sinner, right? Just love the person. Yes, yes. And they've gotten rid of the sinner, the sin, blah, blah, blah. Yes, but it's still here, right? Right? Like it's still on here. If we're really going to go there, then those words that are crossed out, we want to completely get rid of them as well so that only love remains. Love thy neighbor as thyself, because agape, love, accepts unconditionally. Now, agape is not saying that you become some kind of doormat or a victim of somebody's inappropriate and unhealthy behavior. Agape says, I accept you unconditionally, both and. I accept you as you are, right? Like I love my brother who used to do cocaine, right? I love you unconditionally as a being, as an individualized expression of God. And I still do my best to assist you in becoming someone who is drug free, going to Drug Users Anonymous, right? going to AA, going to whatever that is to help you become clean and sober and healthy, both and. How do we give ourselves the space, both and, to love ourselves unconditionally? To say, I love you even if you weigh X, Y, and Z. I love you even while you are an alcoholic. I still love you, right? I still want you to be healthy. I'm still going to do what I need to do to get you into Betty Ford's clinic. But I love you nonetheless. And sometimes that love, right, unhealthy and inappropriate behavior, sometimes that love requires us to have boundaries. Let's come back and hit play. My son is transgender and I accept him as a transgender man. Love. Period. Because there are some folks who say, I love my transgenders. I love my, and they'll dead name the person or they'll refer to the person by their birth, right? Yeah. That's not love. If you love the person unconditionally, then love them. Breathe. My friend is an alcoholic, and while I accept him as a person, while I love him as a person, I do not condone the behavior that he exhibits as an alcoholic. And so I have very clear boundaries regarding our relationship. I still love him. I still accept him. But because of the behavior, there needs to be boundaries in place. What kind of love are you giving yourself? What kind of love are you giving your friends and family? Do you love your LGBTQ friends, family, whomever that person is, enough to refer to them by their pronoun, by their accurate gender identification, whatever that may be? Do you love them no matter what? Or do you have conditions that say, well, based upon my theology and my religion, based upon my fears, based upon my ego, this is what I want if you want love from me? We do that with ourselves. When we live up to, I'm not going to smoke anymore. When we live up to, I'm not going to eat cookies anymore. When we live up to, I'm not going to do that anymore. Then I'll love myself. Is that really love, though? If it's conditional, is it really love? Pause. Sit with that for a moment. Because love is a synonym for God. And if there are conditions, then we are also placing conditions on what God is. Bear that in mind. Now, community. According to the New World Encyclopedia, community is something that means of the same. It means fellowship. It means some kind of union that is shared by all or many in this same area, same center, same neighborhood, whatever that is. It means come together. It means the act of performing some service, to be in service to those who you are together with. Community simply doesn't mean showing up, as I said before. It's not just showing up for a potluck. It's not just showing up for a Sunday message. It's not just showing up for the musicians. Community means literally to come together, to fellowship, to be of like mind, to be in service to one another and with one another. Community, ultimately, when we really get down to it, community is about relationships. Community is relationship building, relationship sustaining, relationship nurturing. That's what community truly is. So when we say we come together as community, we come together in relationship. Our spiritual community is actually a group of people who are in relationship within the confines of or the expansiveness of said spiritual community. But ultimately, it's relationship that we have with ourselves, relationship that we have with each other, relationship that we have with God, relationship, period. It's relationships and relationship building and nurturing and sustaining. Brene Brown says, we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. And when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection. And when we honor the spiritual connection, relationship that grows from that offering with trust. Do you trust yourself? Respect. Do you respect yourself? Kindness. Do you show kindness to yourself? And affection. Are you affectionate to yourself? As Holmes says, what's the point in talking about God is love or God is a loving God or whatever that is if you're not embodying love, trust, respect, kindness, and affection embodied? Then it can be shared. Then it can be nurtured. Then relationship. Breathe. Relationship is about cultivating love. In how many ways can we cultivate love? Cultivating self-worth, self-care, self-love. Do you cultivate, are you willing to cultivate a sense of self-worth? Are you willing to tend to yourself with care and nurturing, self-care, to demonstrate love for yourself, unconditional love for yourself? No matter what is going on in your life, can you love yourself? Yes. 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 You lost your job? Can you love yourself? Relationship broke up? Can you love yourself? You say you're bankrupt. Can you love yourself? You say your kids won't speak to you. Can you love yourself? You say what? Oh, you just lost your house too, so you're homeless. Can you love yourself? The doctor just diagnosed you with what? Can you love yourself? No matter what, can you love yourself? Can you cultivate? Because it's an ongoing thing. Can you cultivate these things in order to be in greater divine relationship with yourself and therefore others? Julianne O'Connor says, when you let me see you, you give me permission to be seen. Yes, and however, boop, I'm not doing the permission thing. So we're doing a remix, right? But regarding this idea of permission, nature doesn't ask your permission. Nature doesn't care about your wishes or whether you like its laws or not. You are obliged to accept it as it is, unconditionally, and consequently, all its results as well. Nature, the universe, is going to do what the nature and universe does, regardless of if you give permission or not. Our task, our invitation is to work in harmony with those laws, those principles, nature. Therefore, we are not talking about permission. When you let me see you, you trust me enough to open yourself to be in relationship with me. That's what we're talking about. When you let me see you, it means that you trust me enough to open yourself so that we are now in relationship with one another. Breathe. You let yourself be seen. You open yourself. Vulnerability. You open yourself. Well, then the question then becomes, how much of you do you show the world? Do you keep yourself closed off? Now, it's one thing to have gone through COVID and we wore masks, covered up. When it's wintertime, you cover up. But there is a spiritual aspect where we are being invited to uncover, to discover, or rediscover the truth of who and what we are, to come out of the spiritual closet, to be out in the world, out loud, out and proud. Breathe. How much of you do you right now show the world? And are you willing to show the world more? Janet Mock says, I believe that telling our stories first to ourselves and then to another and then to the world is a revolutionary act. Telling our stories to ourselves, to others, and to the world is a revolutionary, an evolutionary act. What stories are you telling, though? We're always telling stories. Now, it's easy to think of the come over here and sit on Granddad's lap. Let Pop Ray tell you a story. A long time ago, once upon a time. It's easy to think about those stories. But we're always telling stories. And our stories matter. What? Our stories become matter. Follow what I'm saying? Our stories become things. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are powerful. Words are powerful. What we say, we create. And the word was with God, and the word became flesh. Our stories matter because our stories become matter. Our stories become our lived experiences. So what are the stories that you tell yourself about yourself? What are the stories that you tell yourself about others? What are the stories you tell others about yourself or about others? Ooh, wait, what? Because we're always telling stories. What are the stories that you tell yourself about yourself? I'm an alcoholic. I grew up in an alcoholic family. I'm broke. I'm poor. I'm destitute. I'm fat. I'm skinny. I'm anorexic. I'm this. I'm that. And those may be factual, right? Those may be experienced facts. And yet, do you also interweave in there the truth of your being? Even though right in this moment, what I'm experiencing is this thing called alcoholism. And yet, what I also know is that I am a divine incarnation of God, both and. I am experiencing this and. What I am knowing is that even though right here, right now, what I'm experiencing is homelessness, I am in the midst of, gripped in fear and anxiety and depression. And I also recognize and understand and know that heaven is a state of consciousness that I experience to the degree of my awareness of it. Both and. You know, those people, what stories do you also tell yourself about others? Because as the storyteller, what you say about others is more about you than about them. Your stories about them are also crafting your experience and becoming matter in your life. Breathe. Marianne Williamson goes on to let us know as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission. What did I just say about permission? Oh, we also give people permission. Hey, I'm not doing permission. So let's just swoop. Let's just go ahead and remix that now. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously and energetically show other people how to do the same. As we are liberated from the bondage of our own fears, our presence actually liberates others. Breathe. That's how powerful you are. That's how powerful all of us are. We are the divine incarnating itself. We are the universe incarnating itself. This light, keep in mind that in the Bible, Yeshua says, you are the light of the world. It doesn't say you are a light. You are the light. Don't hide it under a bushel. Don't hide. Put it on a lampstand. Put it up there so that you can shine before others. Live out loud. Come out of the spiritual closet and shine that light. Breathe. Because this is why I always remind us that light is not a small, tiny, this little light of mine. No. This amazing, powerful light I am. I must let it shine. I choose to let it shine. I shine it so brightly that I give other people the energetic invitation to shine their light. My presence liberates because I shine so brightly. Breathe. Breathe once again. So if you don't already join the Thursday night study group, this is your invitation to do so, because the Thursday night study group goes over these questions and discusses them in depth. Questions like, when have you denied yourself and others the opportunity to be seen, the opportunity to be recognized, to be honored, to be celebrated? When have you denied yourself or others those opportunities? What ways can you allow yourself to be seen, to be recognized, to be honored, and to be celebrated more often? Not just once. How about once a day? Recognize something amazing about yourself once a day, minimum. Honor something about yourself, minimum once a day. Celebrate something about yourself, minimum once a day. How can you do that? What ways can you, or what ways can you, it's a typo. In what ways can you support others in their efforts to be seen, to be recognized, to be honored, to be celebrated? See, because once again, it's as you do it for yourself, you do it for others. As you do it for yourself, you assist others in recognizing their ability to also shine their light. So when you show up as someone who is seen, recognized, honored, and celebrated, then others say, I want that too. Excuse me, how can, and then community, relationship, nurturing, and support. So, in what ways can you support others in their efforts to be seen, recognized, honored, and celebrated? And then, lastly, what role does clear communication play in creating a space where vulnerability occurs? What can you do to communicate more clearly? What are you invited to create? Where? Where? Right? It says where, not what. What was before that? Where are you invited to create more safe space? The energy, the container of safe space. Where are you invited to create that more consciously? And while we're talking about it, what is safe space? How do you determine what is safe space or not? Just showing up at a CSL doesn't automatically make that safe space, because there are many unity churches and centers for spiritual living and other places. They're not safe spaces. We would love to think that they are, but honestly, they're not. So how do you know if one is? How do you know if you are honestly, actually creating safe space? What is safe space? This week's affirmation or declaration, I will say it first, and if you feel in alignment, say it with me on our second go round. I allow myself to recognize and to be recognized. Breathe. I allow myself to recognize and to be recognized. Breathe. Breathe as we prepare to go into prayer for our closing energetic wave of consciousness. Simply anchoring into this moment, understanding that as our awareness expands, where we are recognized, where we are seen, where we are honored, where we are respected, where we are celebrated, means that we are recognizing and honoring and celebrating the divine. As Holmes said, whatever is true about God is true about us. So the moment I look in the mirror and I see love, I embody love. I express love. I experience love. I honor my creativity. Then I am honoring the creativity of the one, of the divine, of the thing itself, of the one mind. I embody it. I express it. I nurture it in relationship. As I celebrate my ability to be silly and laugh, I recognize that the universe itself, filled with joyous laughter, joyous divine laughter, I embody it. I experience it. I express it. I bring it to my relationships. And what is true about me is true about everyone who is gathered here today, whether live, whether watching the replayed recording, doesn't matter. There is only now. And this truth applies now, this infinite and eternal now, right here, present. The presence represents itself, incarnating itself in, through, and as each and every one. And I breathe, stepping out of the spiritual closet, the metaphorical closet, the metaphysical closet, the emotional closet, the intellectual closet, the physical closet, stepping out and living out loud, vulnerable and transparent, powerful and vulnerable, powerful and present, powerful and loving, unconditionally loving, recognized and recognizing the divine in all, through all, as all ways and in all ways. And the law says yes. And knowing that the law says yes, it is with gratitude that I stand back and marvel at the magnificent way that this word manifests, that everything we discussed manifests, that joy manifests, that safe space manifests, that shining the light manifests. Knowing that this is already done, it is already so, we touch and agree and we say, Ashe, Amen, Aho, and so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love and appreciation. And if you are so willing, because I had surgery recently, feel free to send some extra healing prayers and energy my way. And other than that, I will see you next Sunday or Wednesday more than likely, Wednesday at our Science of Mind study group or discussion group, or Thursday at the study group, or like I said, next Sunday. Anyway, much love and appreciation. Take care.